Just a little bit of a disclaimer that no geese were harmed in the making of this video. Geese. Everybody hates geese. But honestly, when you think of a goose, I'm sure you imagine something like this, or possibly even this. I get it, alright? Canadian geese are evil little creatures. They're the demons of the goose world, and for some reason have this god complex. But honestly though, should we allow these birds to ruin our entire outlook on the countless species of not-so-evil geese? So I had to do a little bit of research for this video, and I actually learned a few things. For one, there are a minimum of 11 geese species, not including the subspecies and the weird stuff. These particular geese shown include the barnacle goose, the red-breasted goose, the Hawaiian goose, and the bar-headed goose. I'm sure you can understand why a lot of these geese have their names, but you may be surprised to learn that the barnacle goose actually holds its name because people used to think that they started their life out as barnacles. Then they developed into geese into some odd form of tadpolism. That was until they discovered that migration was a thing and they were leaving during the winter, not turning into barnacles, and then that belief was debunked. Of course, now that I have wowed you with my superb goose knowledge, I feel like it's an important time to mention I have now been self-appointed as a goose expert. So allow me to persuade you that all geese are not evil. I mean, come on, can you possibly look at a goose like a Sebastopol and think he's evil? He looks like he's going to a party! He's gonna roll up and steal your girl with the ruffle of his luxurious feathers! And while he may seem like fiction, I can assure you that they're a very real species that is sadly endangered. So spare the geese, and let's talk about how I was first introduced to the true nature of geese. Books! I can conveniently name 3 books that have geese in them. Petunia the Goose, the Golden Goose, and the Ugly Duckling, which I know it has a swan at the end, but it's close enough. Nobody really knows the difference between this and this anyway, so it doesn't matter, leave me alone. Anyway, let's talk about Petunia the Goose. Petunia the Goose is about this goose, go figure, that lives on a farm and she finds a book. For a moment, she considers what she could do with it, but then just settles on taking it. She then thinks she's super smart and gets prideful. So prideful, in fact, that her neck stretches and stretches and stretches until it's out of frame, which I had to animate, guys. And what to do with all of this newfound pride and smarts? You give bad advice, and then you tell your friends to eat firecrackers. Let that sink in. She thought 1950s firecrackers, explosives, were food. Candy in particular. Now, I think I should give her a little bit of credit because on the original box, it said Roman candles, not firecrackers. And I guess that looks similar for a goose or someone like me that's dyslexic. But she still let her friends eat explosives! And of course, what happens if you eat explosives in the 1950s? You get blown up! So all of her friends got blown up, and her goose ego gets bruised. Then she's like, I guess I'll actually read this book. I'm not as smart as I thought I was. So I guess the moral of the story is to not be prideful and learn about stuff before you pretend to know it, which I think a lot of people could learn, including me. But I really did like the book growing up as a kid. So when I got myself a Chinese goose on the farm, I actually named her Petunia. And I loved that ball of feathers, but the name Petunia must have set her up for failure because she was very, very unintelligent. But aside from that, she was very sweet, loved hoses, and I remember her fondly. Rip Petunia. There was another book I really liked growing up that was also conveniently about a goose, sort of. And this one was called The Golden Goose. It was all sorts of whack, but I'll give you the short rundown. There was a young man named Simpleton who lived with his 2 older brothers and his parents. He was also the least favorite child, but Simpleton didn't let that get him down because he knew he was destined for greatness. One day, his parents needed firewood so the family wouldn't die of the bitter cold. His brothers got delicious food and were sent out to go get firewood. They came across a woman in desperate need, but they denied her and for some odd reason nearly died from axe injuries, and then they came home. So when they returned hurt, the family was like, alright Simpleton, here's some really crappy food, enjoy! Then they sent him on his way. When he came across the same woman and she asked him for food, he gladly shared some. As a reward, she led him to a magical golden goose. So Simpleton decided to take his new goose to market to sell. Meanwhile, in a far-off kingdom, there was this princess that had depression and never smiled. How's that for relatable? The king promised anyone that could make her smile would have her hand in marriage. The goose must have got word of this and decided to play a little bit of Cupid, because it just so happened that Simpleton showed up in the same exact city. A few people noticed his goose, and they were like, "That goose is made of pure gold. We're gonna steal it." The people weren't aware of the whack magical powers that this goose possessed. They got caught off guard when they magically got stuck. A guard tried to pull the robber off, and then he got stuck. And then someone tried to grab the robber, and then he got stuck. And Simpleton, being his oblivious self, didn't notice the long conga train stuck to his magical goose. The princess looked out the window around this time and noticed the people that were stuck to the goose. She just laughed. So then Simpleton got to marry the princess and have all the riches he could ever imagine. Legend has it that the goose still has the robbers and guards stuck to him till this day. Hopefully they didn't starve to death. So I guess the moral of that story is to not betray old women, because they could be magic and curse you to a goose for an eternity. And the moral of my story is that all geese aren't evil and may actually deserve a second chance. That is, of course, except Canadian geese. Sorry, Canada. Hey everybody, sorry it's been so long since I've posted. I'm not good at this whole YouTube thing, or animation, or any of that good stuff, but I finally got my graphics tablet fixed, and I finally got a mic that works. And I actually got a computer that can handle this. So maybe I'll actually post more, maybe not. It depends. It takes forever to do this kind of stuff. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a good day. Don't forget to pounce your enemies. And yep, bye.